How's everybody doing this morning? Was feeling a little bit patriotic this morning. Came across something that I thought was kind of cool. I wanted to share with you all. And also, while I'm enjoying my cup of coffee this morning, we're going to probably head to church here shortly. And I wanted to take a second and try to get this video up. It was just something, like I said, had been floating around in my head of making it. So while I'm smoking my pipe this morning, why not better for being a little bit patriotic than some Seattle Pipe Club giving me Liberty? It's a really, really good tobacco. If you haven't ever had it, I think it's worth trying it. So recently I've read, I'm a scatterbrain, so I'm usually always in the middle of a couple books. Again, if you go back a couple videos, reading has really just kind of taken off for me in the last year. It's not something I used to do a whole lot of, but in the last year, I've probably read more books in the last year than I have in the rest of my entire life. But it's something I've kind of gotten into. So one of the books that kind of put me in this headspace of history and thinking about early American culture and different stuff recently, I kept hearing different people advertise it on the radio, but it's Bill O'Reilly's latest book, Killing the Witches. It dives back into, let's see how I can get this going again. It dives back into early American settler culture, when we came across from England, kind of runs all the way up through to current time. If you haven't ever read any of O'Reilly's stuff, it's a really good read. Since I've read it, I decided to get, I think, 8 more of O'Reilly's books. I found them on a really good deal on Amazon. It was a set of books, and I found them used. So they came really cheaply. So if it's something you're interested in, you might look on the used section on Amazon. So again, really good book. I didn't know what to expect from it. I thought it was going to center more around the witch culture in the U.S. And it really, he explains how it kind of ties into really all of American history and kind of catapulted some of the ideas that led into the Revolutionary War and different stuff. So that I had been reading. I had also been in the middle of reading a book called His Excellency, which is a book on George Washington. And I've just been in that mode of thinking early founding fathers, where we came from as a country, how we started, that early mindset, what was important to those guys, how we are currently and are carrying forward as a country. So the neat thing that I came across this past weekend, I've explained I've been kind of in the middle of reading these other books. One I finished, one I'm in the middle of, and I was cleaning my truck out. I hadn't cleaned it out in a while, and a job that I was on last year that we were cleaning up the inside of the building, I came across a small pamphlet copy of the Constitution. We're brooming up, and I couldn't bring myself to discard it. I was like, I'm going to put that in my truck. I can't get rid of the Constitution. I don't know. It didn't seem right to me. So I put it in my truck. I've kind of forgot it had been there ever since. So being in the middle of reading all these other things and thinking about history, I'm going to be honest, I've never read the Constitution. And that's probably, I may have in school. There's probably a good chance I read some of it or the majority of it while I was in school. But I was like, that's kind of important. That has a lot to do with all of our freedoms. Being an American and understanding what it means and what you stand up for and uphold. I thought, it's probably worth sitting down and reading the entirety of it and the Declaration of Independence. So again, I sat down and started to open the book. I felt like it was fitting, again, with the other things that I was reading. So it kind of struck me very interesting that the way that this book was made, they spend a lot of time in the beginning explaining the founding fathers, quotations, getting yourself into a headspace to understand what you're getting ready to read. And again, with reading the other things, it just kind of all hit home with me how important it is to understand the mindset it was that the founding fathers wrote this, our Constitution, this document. But also, I couldn't help but think the possibilities of how far have we strayed. Because again, in the very beginning, they spend several pages talking about learning from our founders, learning from the people that wrote the Constitution. And it's quotation after quotation from various different people, preserving the principles, guarding virtue and freedom, educating the people, all before you get into even reading the Constitution documents. So I marked a few different quotations that I wanted to share with you all. It's food for thought on this Sunday morning. It really stood out to me. Again, I don't know, maybe it's happenstance that I'm in the headspace of reading these other books. But I can't help but think how far we've strayed away from a lot of these different viewpoints and mindsets in the current political climate that we are in as a country, even on both sides of the aisle. But that we really need to get back to, as a people, understanding the context in which these things were written and the importance of understanding it and what we need to be diligent to make sure we are upholding. So the first one that I had noted in learning from the founders was George Washington. The power under the Constitution will always be in the people. It is entrusted for certain defined purposes and for a certain limited period to representatives of their own choosing. And whenever it is executed contrary to their interests or not agreeable to their wishes, their servants can and undoubtedly will be recalled. You can do your own interpreting, and I'll just share with you the ones that I thought were important. But I definitely think, that one applies for sure. The next quote is from Thomas Jefferson. On every question of construction, let us carry ourselves back to the time when the Constitution was adopted. Recollect the spirit manifested in the debates, and instead of trying what meaning may be squeezed out of the text or invented against it, conform to the probable one in which it was passed. So that one really stuck out to me. You hear a lot about, when the document was written, it's, a long time ago. These people put a lot of thought into very carefully wording this document for various freedoms, for the government not to be oppressing the people in which it governs. Again, I think these are all really good things to kind of give some thought to and to maybe think about, have we strayed? I think that we have, but it's worth thinking about, have we strayed from a lot of these early principles and ideas? The next quote that I had was from Daniel Webster, and it was under the section of preserving the principles. It is hardly too strong to say that the Constitution was made to guard the people against the dangers of good intentions. There are men in all ages who mean to govern well, but they mean to govern. They promise to be good masters, but they mean to be masters. So, again, to keep an accountability, there is power at play, and there has to be those checks and balances to keep accountability. The next quote's from Thomas Jefferson. To preserve our independence, we must not let our rulers load us with perpetual debt. I am for a government rigorously frugal and simple. I don't think that one needs any explanation. We're in a massive amount of debt as a country. Never was intended to be where we are currently. I could go on about it in my personal opinions and viewpoints. But I'm just trying to reflect on our early fathers did not or plan on us being, I think, in the current situation that we are as a country, and we've strayed from early principles and ideas of where they saw us headed as a country. The next one's from Benjamin Franklin. Only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As nations become corrupt and vicious, they have more need of masters. The next one's John Adams. Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. So if the people that are governing us don't have any religious or moral value, it's going to be pretty hard for them to govern in any way within the original idea of how we were to be governed. And I'm not saying they have to be religious. That works for me, but it doesn't say just religious, but it's of morals. And I think we could all agree that there's some discrepancies in the whole realm of morals in our governing people today. The next quote's Thomas Jefferson. Pretty important one, I thought. All tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent. Kind of a reason why I felt like it was important to share this video and where I was thinking about that quote stuck out to me, that coming up on next year, going to be an election year. We can't, as good citizens of a country that we have more freedoms than any other nation in this world, go and elect individuals in that we don't understand what it is that we are meant to uphold. And that really ties into this last two quotes that I had written down. And again, they felt it very important to put these things in the beginning of this pocket constitution. And then it goes into educating the people. Again, I don't think this is something that's news. There is a huge problem with the education system in this country in a lot of areas. People that aren't being taught, and the education system failing a lot of individuals. That's going to be a detriment if projected out over time. The people inheriting this country are not properly educated, taught, or have the ideas in mind to stand up for the principles and the ideas that were originally written into this documentation. So the first quote is from James Madison. A well-instructed people alone can be permanently a free people. And then the next one's from George Washington. A primary object should be the education of our youth in the science of government. In a republic, what species of knowledge can be equally important, and what duty more pressing than communicating it to those who are to be the future guardians of the liberties of the country? Which ties into what I was just saying. how are we going to move forward as a nation properly without a well-educated people to uphold the freedoms and ideas of which we were founded under. I also think it's really important in there that he says in a republic. There has been a assault, I think, on that language. You hear very, very frequently, and even when I'm talking to people, so many people have been changed to talk about this country as a democracy, and it is not a democracy. It is a constitutional republic, and there is a vast difference between a constitutional republic and a democracy. I am no highly educated individual. I don't claim to know a ton of things that other people do not know. I'm trying to become more educated. That's why I'm sitting here talking, and I've been trying to read more and understand more so that I can be a more educated person. But there are a few things that I've learned along the way, and there has been an assault on that language in this country to switch the narrative, to switch the verbiage to democracy instead of republic. And I just saw a video recently where someone was talking about how dangerous that is to switch the language from that we live in a democracy and not in a republic. One of the easiest ways to see the difference of a democracy and a republic is in our way to give someone an equal and fair trial, innocent until proven guilty. That is the fundamentals of a republic, that a group of people can say you did something wrong, but until proven guilty by a group of your peers and given the ability to, or the chance to prove your innocence, you are not guilty. The difference in a democracy is that you are guilty until proven innocent. And if the majority says that you're the one to blame, then you're the one to blame. And I fear that we are seeing that unfold in this country. When the masses say this person's to blame, a lot of these instances that you're seeing unfold in the news, these individuals are going in what seems to be very much guilty, and they have to prove their innocence. I worry that that's a problem. That's pushed by news and a lot of other sources, and I think that in some instances maybe these individuals have done wrong, and that's fine, but that is a very slippery slope. We have to be very cautious about proceeding down that path, because eventually it could be someone we know or ourselves in a situation that the masses are saying you're guilty and you're actually innocent. So it's very important, I feel, that we not try to go with the narrative to switch the language in our country from republic to democracy. Again, I'm not claiming to be the most educated person on the topic of what I'm discussing, but I'm trying to understand, I'm trying to learn more. I felt like this morning I was being called to share those things with you all. Again, heading into a election year, all the different things that I happen to be reading, it felt like good food for thought to share with you all on this Sunday morning. I'm going to finish enjoying my pipe. This, by the way, if you're curious, this is a Sherlock Holmes Watson pipe. It's green stem because it's one of the St. Patrick's edition ones. So I'm going to finish enjoying my Give Me Liberty and my cup of coffee. We hope everybody out there has a great day today. If I don't get a video up or back to you all before the Christmas season's upon us, we hope you all have a great Christmas and a great New Year. And we sure appreciate everyone's support on the channel. We really do. We keep every one of you all in our thoughts and our prayers, and we hope you're doing well. We hope for We look forward to seeing you on the next video. As always, take care and have a good day.